everybody. It's so nice to see you all here. Good morning. You're ready. Has it started? Yes, it has. Window in the clouds. Kimberly, that's super cool. Tell us more. Hello. Welcome to day one. I'm so excited we're here. I have been doing this like whirlwind of tech upgrades to make this super freaking awesome. So how this is gonna go, I've got your comments to the side. I actually have a whole slideshow for us, and we're gonna talk about purpose. So let's get straight into it. If you feel like you're missing a bit of an intro on what this challenge is, just go back one video. I recorded one last night quite late. Hard to hear. All right, let's see. How about now? I have an amazing mic here, but you're going to have to, I'm going to talk right into it. And tell me if anything else with the tech is going off, because this is all new to me. And so I'm talking as close as I can at this moment. So let's get into a little slideshow. Who's excited? Here we go. Okay, so we're going to do the quickest little housekeeping ever. So I'm going to invite you in the group after today to 1, introduce yourselves. 2, take some notes today. Really, like, get it out. I understand that it's 8 a.m., so you might be doing breakfast, so you might be just listening as you do that. That's super fine. I totally get that. But also come in and ask questions as you need. So I've got everything set up now. Can you hear me okay now, everybody? Just give me a little like and I'll be able to see that. Okay. So that is the quickest little housekeeping ever. Ask all the questions. Cool. Chantal says she's excited. Awesome. So let's get straight into it. Day 1, we're talking all about purpose. So what is purpose? I asked you in the group about a week ago, and you gave me some of the most amazing answers ever. You said to find your verb. And for Jacinthe, who wrote this, it was to help. Chantal said, outer me aligned with the inner me. And Lara said, it's how I show love. It's when my powerful talents and passion are forged together and service the world. This sacred life mission, said Maya. There's way more, but you guys are so freaking eloquent. It's crazy. It's especially Lara's definition. So it's how I show love. It's when my powerful talents and passion are forged together and service the world. That is my guiding sentence for our week together here and our 9 weeks together in Soft and True, if you should choose to sign up for that. So the purpose question, the big question is, why am I here? Right? So there's a hell of a lot of assumption built into that question. So here as opposed to where. So before we can get into any of it, it's hard to hear me. So how about now? Oh, I'm so disappointed, you guys, but that's okay. I'm going to really bring myself super close to this thing. The mic is plugged in. Everything should be good. Okay. So, and if you really can't hear me, you guys, I'm going to have to get my tech guy in here. Okay. I'm going to do that. I'm so sorry. Catch you later. You guys need to hear me. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to go back to. See you later, guys. Sorry about that. Oh, some of you can hear me very well. The ones who can't hear me, is it possible for you to put on headphones? I did test everything like ad nauseum yesterday. That doesn't mean I did it well, because obviously you're having some trouble. Yeah, can you guys wear headphones? I don't want to waste everybody's time. So I will speak directly into the mic like this. Okay. All right. So, why am I here? The question is really, it's a big one. And I remember in high school, I had 5 years of religion classes, and I grew up an atheist. And so I was always sitting there with my arms crossed and like, poo, poo, poo. But we had this very enthusiastic priest who taught us for a couple of years. His name was Monsieur Le Comte. And he told us there was 3 questions that we're going to ask in our life that are going to totally blow it all open. And he said, the first question is, who am I? And man, as a teenager, do you ever ask yourself that one? And the second one is, why am I here? And that's the one I think many of us are asking. And then there's a third question that might come back to me. But it's a big, big question. And there's assumptions built into it. And when we live in a secular society, we often don't openly discuss these things around the assumptions built in this question. We have shunned religion, so we don't have a collective answer to this, but there is truly an assumption that makes intuitive sense for most people who ask this question. It's a deeply spiritual question. So I wanted to look at I wanted to look at the assumptions that are built into this question. So first of all, there's some kind of predetermined life plan that's made somewhere else than here, right? 2, there's some kind of remaining connection with that life plan, but it's also not crystal clear. Otherwise, why would we ask the question? So it's kind of a weird game. Like there's a purpose, there's a goal, but we don't get to really know what it is really clearly. There's hints, so we've forgotten, but we are also connected to it because we value this, right? How many people out there are looking for their purpose? We intrinsically value this as human beings. And the third assumption that's built in is that we should be able to fulfill it somehow. That can put a little pressure on us, but hey, that's sort of the game that we're playing. So what goes with that is assuming your soul isn't like dumb and assuming your soul is the one who has decided to incarnate in this lifetime to fulfill the purpose that you have decided to fulfill, then that also comes with the fact that you chose this lifetime really for a reason. And that includes the pain, that includes the suffering, that includes the difficulties that are built in, and also the joys that come with it, and the pleasure, and what you're built in, like what you value intrinsically. And so as kids, we all like to play, but in sort of very different ways, right? We come built in with a different sort of template. So this is kind of the raw materials, our hints of what we would have chosen this lifetime for, considering our purpose. 2, there's a guidance system in you that directs you towards your purpose. So if you're connected and disconnected at the same time, it assumes that there's still some kind of guidance system. And that is good news. That is really, really good news for us. And then 3, if we should be able to fulfill our purpose somehow, it also assumes that there's nothing missing. That everything we need to fulfill our life's purpose is actually already here. So that means no excuses. No excuses anymore. Okay, so I like to think of this really as it's a crazy game. Totally crazy game. And so do you accept these premises? Do you accept to play this game? And actually, if these premises built in the question, they help understand. And we're in a spiritual community here for sure. But you don't have to accept these premises at all, because you can still play the game. The experience of being here on earth still follows the same rules, and even if you don't believe in the premises. So, I'd love to see your comments. Do you accept these premises? And more importantly, do you want to play the game and live your purpose? Pause for dramatic effect. Do you want to play this game? Because I've really thought about how all of this works, and I think I've got some good hints as to how to play it. Now, so what we're going to do today in today's class is we're going to look at how to read the hints. Like, what are you doing here? There's hints, and if you're able to read those hints, you're able to read what's part of your purpose is anyway. 2, how do you fulfill your purpose? So if we assume that everything is here already, that there's nothing missing, that there's an internal guidance system that brings you, there must be a how to play this game, right? So we're going to look at that. And 3, not every single human being on this planet is living their purpose. Consciously anyway. They might be unconsciously. They might be receiving the exact raw materials they need to fulfill their purpose. But there are some requirements. There are some things that are required for you to play the game. So, yes and yes. Now with time, of course, it's becoming so much clearer, says Kimberly. Chantal says, I definitely want to play the game. That is awesome. Me too. Okay. You ready for number 1? The what of the purpose. So, because we're biological creatures, our purpose, the hints of our purpose are really tied with the 2 most glaring and blatant guidance systems that we have: pain and pleasure, or joy. Joy is the cleaner, more spiritual version. So we come into this life with our socioeconomic background, with the color of our skin, in the period in history that we've come in the family that we've come in, with the culture that we come in, all of this, with the specific parents that we come in with the specific siblings that we come in with. All of this is sort of the perfect design to give you the pain and pleasure, mostly the pain, you're going to need to fulfill this purpose. So it's maybe a little bit of a drastic opinion here that I'm stating, but that you actually chose the pain that was built in to your life. And because pain gets our attention, it invites learning, it invites healing, it invites wisdom. Oh man. There we go. I just realized, man, tomorrow's going to be better. I'm going to talk straight into the mic. I'm going to put the slides in when they're needed. Oh, thank you for bearing with me as I upgrade here. I see that my video capture device got all stuck again. Okay. So now you get the slides. So pain really gets our attention. It invites learning, healing, and wisdom. So I invite you to think about this for a half a second. What pains have you experienced in your life? And how have they produced tremendous healing? Thank you, Eve. Tremendous healing and wisdom. How have you been able to transcend the pains that you were exposed to as a child and that you lived as a child because of the circumstances? Because as a child, we're just sponging and absorbing the world around us. And so it gives us the raw materials for later to start alchemizing. So there you go. What have been some of your greatest pains, and how can they also be your greatest gifts? This is somewhere we might get tripped up because we don't like to look at our pain. We obviously it's uncomfortable, and yet that is where a lot of the gold is. So one of the great pains for me, it's not very dramatic, but I moved around 3 different cultures before the age of 7, and then by the age of 9 I've been in 4 different schools, one after the other. And that was really difficult for the way I was built, and it hurt because I kept adapting to the new environment, kept having to learn new languages, and what that did until like the age of 14, I think, I didn't have enough fluency to express myself really in any language. Of course, I could have the basic conversations. I understood everything, but it's that also those emotional words that were completely stuck in me, and I had no access to that expression. And here I am, however many years later. This is my greatest joy. I journal like a good hour a day. My work really is all about expressing and finding the exact words to be yourself in the world. The Soft and True program is all about that, allowing yourself to be exactly who you are and stay soft with yourself in that. So they're tied. Somebody else who may have experienced abuse as a child and been in many cycles of violence, that is intense raw material to work through. I'm not negating that, not at all. And I really want to honor all the souls who have chosen this kind of life path. And when they transcend those cycles, what tremendous healers often they can be. So I'm working with one client like that right now. It's clear as day to both of us that she, in some ways, chose these things and is really here on the planet to help others transcend these things as well. And then there's a second part, joy. The stuff we can do all day, the stuff that you can't stay away from, the stuff that like gives you energy and powers you up. And this is the stuff that often really also helps you. It's like the little power-ups. Like if you're playing Super Mario, it's like the mushrooms that make you grow. And they help you in your mission to transcend those pains. Let's see. So what's that for you? So this is a question often asked when we talk about purpose. What is it that you did as a kid? What is it that gave you great joy as a kid? So I played teacher a lot. That was my favorite game. Hello. I also really liked moving and skip rope, and those are things that when I move a lot in my life, all the rest becomes more smooth. So these are little hints. So I'm going to read the comments right now. Of enormous strength and resilience. 5 elements to the tremendous amount of teasing and ridicule. Yeah. Chronic digestive issues. Son without. Yep. You chose a good one, Kimberly. You chose a challenging path. And then as you transcend all of that, yes, that strength, that freaking amazing strength becomes present here. So joy is the sun. Oh, you love pretending to be a radio announcer. That is a really cool one. You might want to explore that a little bit, especially now that podcasts are taking off like crazy. Very fun. Okay. So if like really quick, you have to put your greatest joys and your greatest pains together, what is your purpose? Like, don't think about it. Blurt something out and type it in the comments. And as you do, I'm going to move on. So next, there's an assumed guidance system, right? There's the how of purpose. So, okay, so if you've got some hints, you've got the raw materials, your greatest joys, your greatest pains. Maybe there's also resources, privileges that you've kind of been born into. You get to use all of those. These are all of your puzzle pieces. It's really like coming into a video game that you don't know what the rules are. You have to figure them out as you go along. You have to create them as you go along. But every single thing you need to fulfill this purpose is already here. So now how do we move forward in this mysterious game? There's a beautiful word that is often conflated with purpose, and that word is a calling. And this is a really important energetic. I froze again. There we go. This is a really beautiful energetic that moves us towards our purpose. It's really that simple. So as you hear me say that, I invite you to tune in to yourself. And what does having a calling for something feel like? And I don't necessarily mean when you've followed the callings, plural, and you're made it into a job and you made it into a vocation. I'm really talking about the experience of the calling. So it's really often very inexplicable, right? And it's a guiding force. It often makes zero freaking sense. Like your mind can go like, what? That makes no sense. Why would I do that? That doesn't make any freaking sense. As soon as you're saying that doesn't make any sense, it's a really good hint that this is very, very good for you. It also often feels like magnetic, like it kind of pulls you. It's not that you don't have a choice, but it's really like an electromagnetic force. It's very close to desire. It's very close to desire, but a little bit different. Calling is slightly more elevated and maybe slightly more mysterious as well. But desires also are extremely important. So I invite you to start tuning in to your desires, because both your desires and your callings are coded with something. They have a kind of information within them. And that information that they're coded with is value. Okay, now this I'm going to pause here, look at the comments, but value, freaking hell. I want to talk a lot about that with you. This includes your values. This includes your value. This includes what you value, all of that good stuff. So, fulfillment you can feel in your bones. Yes, exactly. Having a calling is a life-altering experience. It energized you from the inside out. I was frozen. Yeah. My calling woke me and changed the path I've chosen. Yes, exactly. It's altering the pathway. It often comes from deep inside, right? From the inside out. Yes, exactly. So there's this idea that I came across in the last month or so that has pretty much changed my life, and I want to share it with you. Is that our soul, so the part of us that is enduring, the part of us that has chosen our purpose, it's sort of the intention for this lifetime, carries within it codes of value. And they're very unique to us. So I really value words. When I was little, I'd read and read and read a lot. And my greatest frustration was that I didn't have the words to convey the complexity of what I was saying, of what I was seeing. And my capacity to, I remember having a conversation with my dad where I was like, does everybody think about their thoughts and think about thinking about their thoughts? And he laughed and he kind of like said, actually, no, not everybody does that, at least at 11 years old. And that helped me understand my friends a bit more because they were just kind of at face value where I was like, and that was complex and that was really hard to put words onto. So I really value words, and that is not something that only I value, obviously. Oh, I'm frozen again in really weird ways. All right. So yeah, where was I? Yeah, words. And that is actually part of my purpose. And the hints kind of go with that. For the longest time, if you'd asked me if I got to do anything at all, what would I want to do? And the answer was to become a writer. And so that's in there somehow. And the way we act on our values is going to be very unique to us as well. And that's where we're going to bring our multidimensionality into our value. So I know, for instance, Eve, you have a really, really, really deep valuing of the animals, the animal kingdom. Some people have a really, really deep valuing of teaching and understanding. Some people have a really, really deep value around empowerment. And this is very much, again, tied to our greatest pains and our greatest joys. And we come in with these values. Sometimes they match our family's values and sometimes they don't. So sometimes we need to do some deconditioning to value what we actually value. So an example of that is you see me here, 8 a.m., full face of makeup, camera, the whole shebang. And I grew up in a family where makeup was pretty much frowned upon from my dad, and my mom just didn't wear any. So it took me a long time to honor my intrinsic valuing of makeup and beauty and doing all of that stuff. And this is really just a couple of weeks old now, and I'm seeing it elevates my whole life to be honest about what I value, even if it's super shallow. And so a question for you is, what is it that you value that you haven't allowed yourself to pursue? So when you have a calling or when you have something you value that makes no sense to your mind, It makes no sense to your human and to your survival mind, but it makes a lot of sense to your soul and to its mission here on life. So I want you to encourage you to start thinking about those things again. Thank you, Eve. And yeah, I thank you. I recognize that and I feel that, and that's how I grew up. And it's not for other people. That's the distinction here. Something that you value is really for you, and it elevates you. And so yeah, that's a little distinction. Thank you. But thank you. Good. So that coding, that value system is really part of the reason you're here. So your pain and joy can give you hints to what you value above all else and what you're here to explore. And that's really unique to you. And also not. But how I explore empowerment might be super different from somebody else who explores empowerment. Somebody else who explores empowerment might be really into activism, where I might be really into healing. And then that's very unique as well. So, what callings are not necessarily related to. This is where the mind gets really tripped up. Cheryl, on you too, eh? I'm having a problem, it seems. I'm going to keep my hand really close. And I might just have to go back to the normal way of my phone because this isn't really working, guys. I'm so sorry. I did test. Anyway, the how of purpose still. Callings are not necessarily related to innate talent. It's not necessarily something we're complimented for. It's not necessarily something we're recognized for. Sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes it's like something that you do that is really annoying. Okay, I just had a little brain fart around what might be happening with the audio. I'm just going to double check something. Sorry, guys. Okay. Okay, it wasn't that. So, okay, it's not. So what callings are not related to? They're not related to something we're complimented for. Actually, it can be something that is dreadfully annoying to people around us. So I have this one freaking wonderful client who is a nurse. And one of the things we keep working on is how she has this like very genuine value around service and helping others. And so in our sessions is really about just coming back to herself because she can get lost in that. So in a context that is not nursing, this can be annoying as hell. But in the context of nursing, holy moly, does it serve perfectly. It's the perfect trait to be channeling into that vocation. So when we're not on the path yet, the calling can make no freaking sense. And yet it can be super powerful. It also does not guarantee that it's going to lead you to a safe job money-wise. Yeah, so we'll come back to that one. So question, where are you being called? What are you being called to explore? Please put it in the comments. I'd love to hear. Okay. Now, the requirements of leaving your purpose. Number one, I'm coming back to this idea. Know that there's absolutely nothing missing. You've actually been given all the pieces. So all the crap, all the mud, all the discomfort, all the tension in your life at this moment is the very mud that's going to grow the lotus of your purpose. So you don't have to wish you were someone else. You don't have to wish you were on a desert island and then you could fulfill your purpose. No, it's right here, right now. I believe the spirituality of the hermit is pretty much done for most of us. And if that is your calling, then that is important for you to know. But that does not mean that is often escapism. For most of us, that's going to be escapism. Purpose is right here, right now, in your actual life. The things that you feel are hindering you from your purpose might actually be the very thing that is helping you fulfill it. Even if that means it's something that is annoying in such a way that you need to transcend and transform it, and that very transcending and transforming is going to be part of your actual purpose. Okay. 2. Requirements is you need to be willing to approach your life more as a game that your soul is playing and less as a death trap your nervous system needs to survive. Our human feels like that sometimes, and we are so lucky to live in a time where there's not saber-toothed tigers running after us, and our biggest threats are emails from bosses or emails from people that we don't want to hear from. Of course, our nervous system reacts to that a lot. But yeah, it's easier to survive nowadays. Let's say that. Okay, so and number 3, it just disappeared, is accept that purpose doesn't come with a guaranteed paycheck. This is a pressure we put on our purpose, but our souls don't necessarily understand this human survival thing. And so we need to accept that there's a risk, and we need to start learning to play the game of both ends. So let's go back to number 1. Knowing that there's nothing missing really means your soul set you up here on earth and made those choices, and this is the most amazing playground out of, let's say, 7 billion people being born roughly in this time period. It chose you to be born into. And out of all the possible time periods, it chose now. It's specific. Like, it nailed down to where to have you incarnate. So that means you have to stop the temper tantrums. And I mean, I'm no stranger to like inner child temper tantrums, but we have to stop them. Stop the stories of confusion. Stop the this is too hard, and start accepting exactly your circumstances as they are. Start alchemizing exactly what is our mud to create the lotuses, and awakening. So we need to wake up and see it in a different way. Okay. All right. So you get the beautiful honor of seeing my face freeze in very weird ways sometimes. It's okay. Okay. Number 2, this game over death trap idea. The soul is wanting expansion and learning and transformation. And the human wants security, safety, tribal belonging. These are simply at odds. And viewing it as a game helps to live in the both and. So here's somewhere we also really get tripped up. We think, okay, I'm going to go fulfill my purpose, and that means that I can no longer heed the call of my human, this biological creature that is just deathly terrified of not belonging to the group anymore, that is deathly terrified of not having a respectable job, of not meeting responsibilities. And that is just a very human experience. And because we have this notion that our purpose is so radical and we need to sort of change everything, it's easy to let our human fears win. It's really those subconscious blocks that come up and they block you moving forward on your callings. So I am making a really strong call here for you to take responsibility for the human, to be kind with its fears, and to start living in the both and. So yes, I'm deathly afraid that I'm going to be rejected by my tribe if I decide to put makeup on, whatever it might be. That's a very silly example, but hey. And I value this. Because I value it, that is enough for me to know it moves me on the path of my purpose. And so I will take care of my human who is so afraid, and I will move towards my purpose, my calling anyway. And this is the game I invite you to play. This is what I guide you through in Soft and True. I help you move forward towards your purpose, towards your callings, but without the extreme dramatic actions. I am not about dramatics. I have never been. I have always been about the small little step that moves you forward. And I've seen that it works wonders. So that is really important here. So, mediumship, especially trance, spiritual drawing is leading you in this direction. Lotus is guiding you. Drawing many lotuses, cool. Seeing the mud in a different way. Yeah. Okay. Number 3, there's no guarantees. This one's trippy and trips us up. There's no guaranteed paycheck when you follow what calls you. There's not always a clear aha. It's not always obvious results. It can feel very uncertain. The soul has zero problem with uncertainty. The human, however, it does not like that. It likes things to be clear, things to be in boxes, A to B to C to D. So we need to accept that there's no guarantees. And we're not entitled to any guarantees either. But, there's a but. Following your calling comes with an insane magnetism, an alignment, a fulfillment that feels deep into your bones. It's the expression of the healing of some pain and of a recruiting of what you value, of your deepest joys, your deepest hallelujahs. And all of that, being on purpose and on value, gives you the energy to continue despite the uncertainty. It's a reward in itself. And because that reward in itself is there, it doesn't mean it's all roses and butterflies. This is still hard work. But it does give you the energy, the stamina, the curiosity, and the capacity to persist way longer than others for whom this is not their purpose. And it's fun to watch for others. Think about somebody who's really passionate about what they do. Like, you can't take your eyes off of them, right? You just want to be around them. You want to soak up their passion. You want to know all about their passion, even if you don't care. And all of that culminates in this magnetism to people's money. People want to pay you. So even if you're really lit up by candle making, you are lit up by candle making. So I guess, yeah, that could make money. But maybe you're lit up in such a way that you bring all of you to this candle making, and you make some candles that are so extraordinary that if I look at my Dollarama candle and I look at your candle, I'm like inspired to pay you $20,000 for your candle, because it's a work of art. There's something it's coated with you. So that's where, like, also with the money piece, it doesn't have to make sense. So I would love to hear, what are some examples? Who can you think of that followed their callings, plural actually, even when it made no sense and it paid off big? Good. So this is pretty much the end of my slides. I want to hear your examples. Let me see where we are. 8:48, not bad. And I am down for all of your questions. And I'm going to start with a really good one from Chantal that she posted in the group. How do I differentiate my actual purpose versus my should around my purpose? Now, this is a phenomenal question. And I think parts of this video have answered that, but I want to clarify it even more. It has to do with what you genuinely actually value. So here's the truth about me that is really uncomfortable for me to admit. I'm not really moved by helping people. Considering what I do, that's complete absurdity, right? And I value it, but it's not like in my soul deep, like that's what I'm here for. Very weirdly. But what I am deeply here for is to unleash people's genius. And it's not coded as help because I don't see it as anybody needing my help, but I see it as fun and as unleashing. And those have been the fantasies that I've had my whole life. So how that ties into the question is, it feels like the should is the helping people, but the actual purpose is what actually, like, it gets me going. Like, I feel so excited and I feel like a charge of like deep pleasure, and it makes me, I think, magnetic when I think of I want to just unleash people from their prisons that they've built in themselves. And you could argue, well, that's helping people, but it's like a certain way of phrasing it, a certain way of framing it inside of yourself that gives you access to the magic. So that's how you can differentiate it. So you might be getting close, like helping people is close, but unleashing people, I feel so excited. So that's one question. Any other questions you have this morning around purpose? Kimberly says, as examples for people on purpose, I don't know who Ashana is, but Oprah. Yeah, Oprah. And so what I bet Oprah, what lights her up, I mean, this woman has created a whole empire around having conversation, right? But if I were to sit here and be like, I just want to talk with people, I think that's my purpose. I know it has to make money right away. I'm putting a lot of pressure on it, right? And that's a dream killer. It's a joy killer. But if I chose to engage with it and get better at it and to get curious about it more and more and more, then maybe I get Oprah level. So she's an interesting example for that kind of thing. So let me see. Oh, that's it. So let me go back to just my face. Hello, guys. Thank you for bearing with me for my first upgraded tech. I can see that I still need a little work, even if I'm talking close to the camera, but to the microphone. But so I thank you. I really do thank you. I'd love to see in the comments, are there any questions? You can keep asking me questions all throughout the week, all throughout the day. Post your ahas. Let's make this really interactive. Make this like a real community thing. If you're watching the replay in your emails, then same, just send me an email. Ask me questions. They're super, super welcome. Okay, so I'm going to have a look here at the comments a little bit more. Here. There's a 20-second delay, so I'm going to wait a little bit. Eve says she discovered her purpose by accident, then decided to combine purpose with energy healing with writing, and purpose of energy healing with writing. Yeah, I've always enjoyed writing but never wanted to share it with anyone. Now I'm putting myself out there full force because I believe in myself and I have the desire to succeed and have financial freedom. I no longer want to be on someone else's schedule. Beautiful. Yes. And our sorry, I read Chantal's comment and it made me laugh. Yes, so that's exactly it. Like, our purpose is so unique to us and gets to combine many different values, many different joys that we have, and that makes our life truly a work of art. And for me, that's a little bit what this is about. It's making a work of art with our life. We are completely creative agents here. So I love that you're combining these things. Yeah. Yes, you're human. Totally. This has been a very helpful concept for me. There's a human and then there's a soul. And we really need both, Because if we just let the soul do whatever it wants, it has no regard for our safety. It is just going to run around putting ourselves into all sorts of extreme situations because it wants to learn and it wants to learn and it wants to learn and it wants to learn. So, it's not only follow your soul. Amy says, for me, it seems financial freedom is one of the main things I'm working towards. So I have more time to put into my passion. Any comments on this? Yes, Amy, you are taking care of your human by doing this. This is fantastic. And I love that you frame it in that way, that you're creating the financial freedom so you do have more time, because wealth is really time and money and a million other things, let's be honest. So yeah, creating financial freedom is really taking care of your human enough so you can really play the soul's game with more freedom. So I'm all about that. How do you figure out values? Great question. So your values, when you put some time or some money into something you value, it feels like an investment. It's a bit of a strange thing, and it feels like a settling inside of yourself of yes, this is important to me. So of course you can make a list. You can look at value lists out there, like courage and beauty and anything like that. And you can see which ones particularly resonate with you. But you can also look at this really in the day to day, very basic stuff. So I've struggled with this for a while because again, well, I don't know about this one. I've noticed that I really value a clean house. I get really jittery and really uncomfortable and honestly really bitchy when things aren't clean around me. But I didn't allow myself to realize that how important that I value that is. I've kind of well, I'll do what I can. And I mean, keep things as clean as I can, but I'm not going to stress out about it. Well, just this week, I've invested in having a cleaning lady come every 2 weeks, and I'll let you know if that upgrades my life enormously. And my sense is that it will, because it is inherently something I value. It might have to do with being a Virgo, but I know a lot of people value a clean house. And me keeping it always 80%, now we get to 95%. And I feel like it's going to do something with my psyche. So how do I figure out my value? I get irritated when it's dusty. That's a good indicator. So let's see. So you figure out your fears and joys and values. Yes, you become a fervent student of yourself with the framework of what we put together today. And really what you want to do is you want to move yourself to live more in the quadrant of what I freaking value. And you know, some people, that's going to be the experience of having a Chanel bag. And for other people, that's going to be the experience of going hiking in the Scottish Highlands. For some other people, that might be, I don't know, doing some deep sea exploration. And we don't have to judge each other. We really don't have to judge each other for what we value. There's something that we're excavating in those values that has a deep relationship to our purpose and our calling. Lara, I love how you shared your experience about teaching. I have always felt a passion about teaching or lecturing, but hated the idea of helping others, which felt so contradictory to me. But when you explained it, totally resonated. No need to help others, but to help others. Lara, oh my God, I'm so happy that I shared something that I was like about, and you feel the same. Because yeah, let's unleash people. I'm so aligned with that. Amy says, thanks. I love this distinction between human and soul needs. I have never heard that before. It makes so much sense to me and something I've been grappling with. This came up just right at the time. Synchronicity. Yes. Synchronicity is also a really great way that purpose, calling moves us through. We get these little gifts, right? Yeah, me too. I can't stand if a house is dirty. Yeah, I think there's a lot of us. And like, I think my mom genuinely, it doesn't make as much of a difference to her. And so my mom and dad would get into these fights all the time, which is what I had internalized. I had some conditioning. So keeping the house clean was like something I always had like an internal fight around. So that's where we can see our conditioning playing out. So is it connected to our deepest pains and traumas to overcome? Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what it's connected to. Okay, let's see. Any other questions? These were amazing, you guys. Cool. So it is now 9 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to conclude here, and I'm going to invite you to come introduce yourselves in the group. Come tell us your ahas. Come tell us all the things. And come tell us, I put something somewhere around what I want to invite you into. I will go and find that and post that. And there we go. Okay. Ask me any questions during the day. Thank you all so much for joining.